Hi, I'm Antonia. This is Universally Me, the place for all things universal. And today we are talking about the birth of the movie star. And really, we are talking about the rise and fall of the world's first movie star. Now, I have told part of this story like hundreds of times. If you've watched my channel, you probably know it. If you see me on a panel or in an interview, I talk about it all the time because part of this story is funny and quirky, and it gives you a really good sense of Carl Laemmle's personality and vision. But there is a second part of this story that is much darker. And I would bet that many of you who have been following my channel, even those of you that are classic fans in general, I would bet that many of you have never heard about this before. I don't usually talk about it. I have noticed other people don't talk about it, but today we're going to. So let's rewind and set the scene. Universal doesn't exist yet. We're back in 1909, and my uncle Carl Laemmle, the guy that will start Universal Studios, well, just 3 short years ago, at the age of 39, he left the clothing business to open his very first movie theater in Chicago. Now, this was a totally new business to get into, not just for him, but for everybody. Movies were very new, and a lot of people didn't take them seriously. They thought that they were just a trend that was going to die out. But Uncle Carl, he believed, and he put everything into his theaters. And they were so successful, and he was so ambitious that he decided very quickly that just showing movies, that wasn't enough for him. He wanted to make movies too. So in the year 1909, he starts IMP, the Independent Moving Pictures Company. Now, this was a bold move, not just because Uncle Carl's a new business owner in a new industry, but also because making IMP put him in direct competition with the Motion Picture Patents Company, also known as the Edison Trust. The Edison Trust was a powerful monopoly that ruled the industry with an iron fist, run by the evil Thomas Edison. And he would dictate who could make movies, how you could make movies, and he would charge some hefty fees for the privilege. Uncle Carl's IMP was a small fish in a big pond, but he had a secret weapon, Florence Lawrence. Who was Florence Lawrence? Well, Florence Lawrence was born January 2nd, 1886 in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Her mother was an actress and vaudeville performer, so Florence Lawrence grew up in that world, performing on stage for the first time at just 3 years old. Florence Lawrence made her film debut in 1906 with the Vitagraph Company and quickly became known for her expressive acting style. By the time she joined Biograph in 1908, she had already appeared in numerous films, and she was one of the most recognizable faces on screen. But she was still uncredited. See, at the time, the film industry wasn't yet crediting actors at all. They feared that by giving actors a name, like their real name, that actors would become too powerful and they would start demanding too much money. So instead, actors would mostly be referred to by their studio or by a physical feature. So you might be known as like the girl with the curls, or in Florence Lawrence's case, she was known as the Biograph girl. And it's worth noting that Biograph was one of the companies under Thomas Edison's trust. So in the midst of Uncle Carl going head-to-head with Thomas Edison, I will remind you that Thomas Edison sued Carl Laemmle 289 times. Uncle Carl comes up with a brilliant idea. He offers Florence Lawrence name billing if she will leave Biograph and become an IMP actress. This move set the stage for one of the most daring and innovative publicity stunts, one that I have seen like hundreds of times since, but I cannot find an instance of it being used before this. Carl Laemmle knew that he had to do something big to compete with Thomas Edison and the trust. And he didn't just want to make Florence Lawrence a name, he wanted to make her the name. Carl Laemmle orchestrated a brilliant publicity campaign, probably a little traumatizing too, where he started a rumor that Florence Lawrence died in a streetcar accident. And this created huge buzz. Suddenly people were talking about her movies, and for the first time ever, they were talking about her name. So once the news gets good and big enough, Uncle Carl releases a statement of his own, saying, No, these were just rumors started by my competitors," kind of blaming Thomas Edison and the trust for it. And in fact, Florence Lawrence is alive and well, and she's now an IMP actress. And he didn't actually stop there because he said, okay, go see her in the upcoming movie, The Broken Oath with Imp. It's going to be huge. And if you want to see her alive and well, go to this event in St. Louis and she will be there appearing live and in person with her co-star King Baggett. Thousands of people showed up. They were practically rioting, trying to touch her, trying to grab at her clothes. They'd never seen a celebrity in person before, and it really cemented the celebrity status of Florence Lawrence. Audiences wanted to see her in her upcoming film, and they wanted more of her. Florence Lawrence's fame was a massive success for Carl Laemmle and Imp, and it marked the start of the star system, where actors' names and faces were just as important as the movies they were in. This was a pivotal moment in film history, and it paved the way for stars like Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks and Charlie Chaplin. But I must admit that the industry was right to fear name billing. They anticipated that with great power would come great salary demands, and they were right. Florence Lawrence soon proved too expensive, and she left to go work at Lubin Studios, and she recommended Mary Pickford take her place as the next Imp star. But it wasn't all smooth sailing for Florence Lawrence, despite the fame that she'd found. I think she might be one of the first people ever to experience the high highs of stardom and the dramatic crash that so often follows. She felt immense pressure from the industry and from the public. And then in 1915, she was badly burned while working on a movie. I heard her face was scarred and her spine fractured when a prop stairway fell on it. The pain was debilitating, and though she tried to return to the industry in the following years, she really struggled. The existence of stars had increased the use of close-ups in films, so because of her scars, she couldn't really take leading roles anymore. She took smaller parts and even uncredited work. To add to her pain, her mother died suddenly in 1929, and she divorced 2 more times. Her first husband had already died in 1920. Her third husband was an abusive alcoholic. She suffered from chronic pain, and she was diagnosed with an incurable bone disease, and she became, understandably, severely depressed. On December 28, 1938, Florence Lawrence committed suicide. It's such a stark contrast from the woman that we once knew on top of the world at the dawn of movie stars. Florence Lawrence deserves to be remembered today as the world's first movie star and as a charming and talented and charismatic woman who laid the foundation for modern celebrities. And Florence Lawrence and the movie star, well, they were just the beginning for Uncle Carl Laemmle. He would defeat Thomas Edison in the trust. He won every single lawsuit. He would start Universal and open up Universal City here in California. He would invent the movie studio tour, and he would produce hundreds of incredible films. He and Florence Lawrence are a cornerstone of Hollywood history. So the next time you're watching a movie and you see your favorite actor's name come up on screen, I want you to think of Florence Lawrence and think of Carl Laemmle. In the comments below, put your favorite movie stars. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Antonia Carlotta, and join the Laemmle family on Patreon or with a paid YouTube membership. I've got so much bonus content over there. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Hollywood history. Bye.